Hello.
All right. Oh, can you guys see us? Hi. Hi, friends. YouTube friends.
This is a little too close.
Well, I mean, what do you want me to do? We're in a room at Talladega. We're in a radio room. We're not in a closet. So
Kind of. Not that far off.
Well, it's not a closet. I mean,
maybe it's not that.
Jordan's. Are you bumping my chair?
I was trying to get into the center of the shot.
You don't need to be. You don't always need to be in the center of everything, Jordan.
I have job. It's actually my job.
Okay, I have half right here, and you have your half. So you stay over here.
Fine. This is what I put up with.
Look how small. Usually your face, you sit on the normal podcast when we're doing, you sit so close to the camera like this. Your face is huge, and I'm far back like this.
I look much skinnier this way. I'm actually, this is not bad. I like
if
this.
If you tilt your chin up a little bit, I could go like this too, I guess. Anyway, I see you guys all in the chat. How's it going there? No, I can't do a live rap because that has to be rehearsed. So no Talladega live raps, but I'll try to keep an eye on this section during the podcast. But I don't know if I'll be able to like interact with it that much. But I'll at least mention on the podcast that we're also doing this live. So the recorded version. What are you laughing at?
This is just very particular.
George, he says you're looking fresh.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
He looks like he's about to fly with like Top Gun or something.
This is not a bomber jacket at all.
Oh, he said Jeff always does though.
Jeff always. Oh, I think
I always look fresh.
Oh, Jeff looks fresh?
Yeah.
No.
Someone
actually is complimenting you.
Jordan
Jeff.
Looking fresh, and Jeff always does.
Yeah, LOL. You left the LOL.
LOL. Wait, so were you kidding?
No, he's kidding about you looking fresh.
Right, I know.
You look like a dad.
Fresh to death. Yeah. Okay. All right, let's get this started.
You look like a dad.
I am a dad.
No,
it's okay.
You dress the part.
All right. Can you guys hear us okay, by the way? Can you hear us? Because obviously, like, we're just doing this off the camera or like the okay, you can hear. Okay, great. Okay, let me try to clean this. I have a smudge on my camera here.
This is real professional operation.
This is good right here. Okay, is that better? Can you guys see better? Okay.
Plan ahead there, big guy.
Yeah, I should have cleaned. I should have
really
cleaned the smudge sometime. That's better though. I can see better now. Okay, awesome. All right, let's start. Okay. All right, here we go. You ready, Jordan?
Yeah, let's do this.
Give me a sound check there.
Testing 1 2 3. Hello, testing 1 2 3.
That's too loud. I'll turn you down.
Jeff dresses like a dad.
Okay, here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Teardown. I'm already cracking myself up because we're watching ourselves do this live here at Talladega Superspeedway. We are doing this on YouTube live for the first time ever. Usually, like, we will record it on Zoom when we're in separate rooms. And this time we're trying it on YouTube. We're recording it in the podcast version, of course, but we can see like the live commenters who are watching us right here on the side. And it'll probably throw me off because people are very funny. And I already like your
you always get scattered anyway. So
I always get flustered, yes. But here we are at Talladega. They have nice big radio rooms here, so we're not having to like be completely in each other's space, although it's a little bit too close for comfort. And we have just watched the Talladega race, which played out, I mean, pretty much how everybody said it was going to. But the winner was not who I thought it was going to be. Or even it probably would have been in my top 20 picks.
Maybe. It's weird because you go to a race, most every race, Kyle Busch is always in the discussion, or at least, like him winning isn't like, it's realistic, right? And here you come to a super speedway and you're like, yeah, there's probably, I'd rather pick Stenhouse or Michael McDowell, or there's a bunch of guys you normally wouldn't pick. You pick them ahead of Kyle Busch. And this year, not only does Kyle win today, he damn near won the Daytona 500 too.
Right.
I mean,
he was leading in regulation.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's a different driver or he's driving better cars in super speedways. Or the thing is, like, he gets a little bit of a bum rap because he hasn't won a super speedway race since 2008. But it's not like he's horrible. Like he almost won Daytona a few times now. Like he's in the mix. It's just various reasons it hasn't gone his way.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I just think of the super speedway racers as the people who like make some crazy daring bold blocks, right? And it feels like Kyle is, especially, I mean, he even said it, since 2015, when he comes to the super speedway, ever since he got injured, he just wants to walk out of here, right? And so if you have that mentality, you're not going to make insane blocks. And even in this race today on the last lap, he said like he sees them coming, like he sees Bubba coming with a run and Blaney, and he's like, well, I'm not going to try to. He's like, I'll just let them go by, and then we'll just deal with it down the backstretch and see if we can sort this all out.
He's a little bit more passive here than probably he normally is.
I mean, you could say patient,
passive, but I mean,
but yes, but he's not the aggressive super speedway racer. He's not young anymore, right? And I think the older you get, sort of the more mental chess you play with some of this stuff, and it doesn't always work out that way, because sometimes to win these races, you have to be that aggressive and you have to take that move. Sometimes it works out. I mean, it worked out this last spring for Ross Chastain too. The seas just parted. He didn't do anything special.
No, he literally just held his line, and Jones moved up. And
I mean, today Kyle Busch was, Blaney and Bubba had left him in the dust.
Yeah.
He was pretty far back, and he on the bottom lane, and they got into it, and he ends up winning caution. So, sometimes that's what it takes to get one back here. But it is interesting too, especially when you think about RCR, right? Because you mentioned the Daytona 500, which that could have been an RCR win at a super speedway. And then the Daytona race last summer was Austin Dillon win with Tyler Reddick pushing him. Yep. So an RCR again. So I think, for me at least, when we come to super speedways, I'm thinking Ford, because they work so well together.
Sure.
Blaney's always in contention. Logano, Keselowski, you're like, oh, Fords, like they're so strong. Almirola, like there's so many good Ford drivers. RCR is, kind of have to tweak that a little bit of our thinking, because they're doing pretty good.
To me, I always think about them though. They put a lot of emphasis. Well, they do. They put a lot of emphasis on this program. They want to run well here. They see these opportunity races where other teams, and this kind of goes to kind of the Kyle, like there are a lot of drivers who come to super speedways and they're just like, there's nothing I can do here. It's all luck. It's just circumstance. And there are other drivers, and I would say that the drivers who tend to have success here, the Logano's, the Blaney's, the Hamlins, they embrace it. Like they don't, there's a part of luck, but they also know that, hey, listen, you come here with the right mindset, and it affects you. It can impact you a little bit. And I think RCR comes here with the mindset of, this is an opportunity race for us. Any disadvantages we may have on an intermediate track or wherever else, we don't have them here. We can run with these guys. We build really good engines. We build fast race cars, and that traditionally has been our strong suit. And Richard, this place means a lot to him for a lot of reasons. So, I mean, yes, I do think about them when they come here. You're right about all of the Ford drivers and everything, but I don't like to lose sight of the fact that they're pretty good here. And Austin Dillon is a really good super speedway racer. I mean, this is a guy who's won Daytona before. He's usually in the mix of these things. So to me, for him, it's interesting. And the narrative is probably going to be, Kyle's now with RCR, and RCR like elevated him. And yeah, I mean, he's probably got better cars maybe on a super speedway than Gibbs or their level. But I just feel like this was more about what we talked about. This is about circumstances and just putting yourself in the right position. And today, things broke his way.
Well, it's interesting because Kyle Busch has, lamented plenty of times in his career about wins that he should have had that were taken away. And, it's not often where Kyle Busch sort of gets like one back where he can be like, it probably wasn't the best.
Really? Because Bristol Dirt comes to mind.
Well, that's true. That's a great point. But, there's probably, if you asked him, he would probably name you like 30 races or something where he would have been like, I should have won that one, that one. But, it's interesting now because this is now the first time that he's won multiple races in a season in a couple years. And now he's got a chance to win 3 races in a year, which, I mean, he's already got 2 through 10 races with 26 to go. So he wins one more. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, he's having a pretty successful run here. Well, I thought it was interesting in the post-race press conference that we just came from. He was talking about he's worked harder this year than he has in the last 4 years because he feels like he owes it to Richard Childress Racing and that team that they took a chance on him. They decided he was not washed up. They embraced him coming there when he was having trouble finding a landing spot. I mean, it's ironic. I was thinking about it in this media center here this weekend. 1 year ago in this media center is where Kyle Busch was saying, I don't know, go ask Joe Gibbs.
This was the weekend where for me it became real that he could possibly leave Joe Gibbs. And I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought ultimately they were going to ultimately sign a contract extension. But this is where the first time where the door opened for me from not just what he said, but other conversations that were had of like, this is not a slam dunk. Like this is real. This could potentially happen.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think about that, and I mean, Dustin Long, again, for the second straight week, I'm calling him out for asking a great question in the post-race press conference. But, sort of like one of those situations where he was even talking about, Dustin was talking about last summer, Watkins Glen, about Kyle was talking about how it's been so taxing on him and so hard. And even if 1 year ago, standing here in this media center, if we were going to say, Kyle Busch is going to end up leaving Joe Gibbs Racing, has a trouble finding a new spot for a while, ends up at Richard Childress Racing, and he immediately wins 2 races the following season by the time we get back here, like by the time we leave here tonight.
He's got more wins than Joe Gibbs Racing has this year.
I mean, yes.
Which is
Bell has 1.
Bell's got
Kyle
1.
Busch has 2.
Yeah, no one else at Gibbs has any. They should have more. I mean, Denny will tell you that. Martin will tell you that. But they don't. And it's funny because the narrative for a while was, I broke this. We talked about this. Like Kyle was having a hard time winning races. Like he really hasn't. He hasn't had the same level of success. And to what you said about him, putting in the time, and the energy, like he talked about it at Nashville last year, in the offseason at the banquet, where he felt like he talked about Tom Brady and how he felt that was kind of motivation. Like he had something to prove, like whether it's fair or not. And no one thought he was washed up. Like, and he can believe, and I get that's a motivating thing or whatever, but he had something to prove. This was a driver who since 2000 had won, I think, 4 races, right? And he all of a sudden had been kind of pushed away at the team that he'd been with for 15 years. Didn't really feel welcome there. Didn't necessarily, they just, whatever reasons, he wasn't going back there. And there's some doubt about where he was going to go. And yeah, I mean, I can see why he put in, like, he felt like, I want to stick it to you guys. I want to show you that you made a big mistake. Like he was very hungry to do that. And sometimes I feel like we talk about, and I'm guilty of this as anybody, I feel like we talk about like Kyle Busch at like he's like 55, and he's not. Like he's still in the prime of his career at an age when a lot of drivers win championships, and still like it's not. There's a lot left there, and I just felt like that situation at JGR had run its course, and I do feel like RCR was a new opportunity for him to have a new beginning, and he is certainly taking advantage of it.
We talked about this preseason, and we talked about after Fontana, but I think it's worth bringing up again. There was sort of one of 2 ways Kyle Busch could go this year, right? He could either get off to a really good start with them, be rejuvenated, be clicking again, find momentum, feel like this is my new home, everything's going great, or maybe things were not going to go well. The pressure was going to continue to mount. They were going to have a poor start. It was going to be like, what's wrong?
The
he still
radio
can't win
transmissions
anywhere.
were going to be biting. The jabs were going to be there.
He would have lost all his confidence.
Yeah,
but it's going so far in the positive direction for him at this point.
Let me say this. I listen to a lot of Kyle Busch's radio. You do too. I honestly don't remember a radio transmission this year. There's been frustrating moments, but he
hasn't snapped at them.
No, that's it. He hasn't snapped. He hasn't had like a meltdown or anything like that. There's been none of that. They've had a couple bad races here and there, but there's been none of that. There's been no frustrating press conferences or media sessions. Like it's none of that. It's been all sunshine, roses, and puppies.
Well, I mean, he's still opinionated about things happening.
Sure. I mean, absolutely.
He'll have biting remarks about things happening in NASCAR or something.
Yeah.
About his own
team
racing and stuff. Yeah. I mean, it's not bitter Kyle or salty Kyle or any of those things for sure. And I go back to love him or hate him. I think Kyle Busch is very good for NASCAR. He gets people talking. We've just gone off this whole thing of the star power and what's going on and how much emphasis they're putting on Chase Elliott coming back because the ratings have been down. If you get Kyle Busch relevant and winning and just frequently in the news and in the mix, people want to hear what he has to say. People want to know what's going on.
And they like to hate him. And that's good. Like you need villains in sports. You need people to root against. And I was walking after the race was over, I went to the care center to talk to Bubba Wallace and loudly could hear a F Kyle Busch chant coming from the infield. Like I'm walking through the Xfinity garage, the old Cup garage. I could loudly hear it, and it was coming from like the infield. I believe it was the infield. I could hear it as clear as day. F Kyle Busch. F Kyle Busch. I was like, Wow. All right. But that's good. Like you need people like that. You need people to play various roles, and he plays the villain very well. And I think Kyle at times does a really good job of embracing it and playing into it. And I think RCR is a perfect organization for that too, because they like wearing that black hat. Like that's kind of always been their thing. They're kind of the rogue organization. They do it their own way. They're not in the NASCAR's hub like everyone else is. They're kind of out a little bit and welcome. And that's just who they are. And you couldn't really maybe play that up if you're Kyle Busch to the level maybe you wanted to at Joe Gibbs Racing, and with a very family conscientious sponsor in M&M's. You can, he said it before, he said it himself, like, I can be himself. And now it's like, own it, man. Own it. Go full heel.
So the live chat has a lot of opinions about this.
All right.
First of all, people they like the salty Kyle. People also like happy Kyle, of course, but also people enjoyed his 420 at 420 post the other day. That's something you wouldn't have seen from the M&M's Kyle. Obviously, he has a weed sponsor of sorts. Not this week. He had a new sponsor. That
McLaren grill.
Yeah,
when I saw McLaren on their car, like I saw it, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, is this like because McLaren does parts and pieces, there's a McLaren manufacturer. And I was like, oh no, it's a grill. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, not that McLaren.
And maybe do a double take.
So it's interesting though, because I think people will continue to talk about him, whether he's doing good or bad. But again, either way, the more he's in the news, the more where there's a reason for people to get fired up about him one way or the other. I think it's a good thing. Now, this race, okay, so listen.
I'm here for this.
Yesterday, the drivers were saying, look, it's gonna be like Daytona-ish, like Atlanta-ish. It's gonna be 2x2. We're not gonna be able to do much. We're gonna be mostly saving fuel until the final pit stop, because we're all gonna be stuck with this next gen car. Like, you can't side draft, and because you can't side draft in that way, in the same way as the old car, you can't get runs. You're stuck, and unless everybody kind of commits to a third lane and you get enough momentum, you're just not going to be going anywhere. And so everybody's going to save fuel so that for the final pit stop, they don't have to take as much, and it'll be a track position race. And that's pretty much how it went for a lot of it. They tried to get a third lane a couple times. And then finally, with about 30 laps to go,
40-ish,
after that final, one of the final, not final caution for sure. One of the late cautions in the final stage, they finally started racing. They finally started like, okay, let's go here. But even then, so I asked like Brad Keselowski afterwards, like, so that, the fact that you guys were able to get 3 wide, like, could you have done that the whole time? Or was that just people getting desperate? He said, neither. It was because the people on the bottom would start saving fuel, and because everybody's going to be close. And so they would jam up the bottom, and then the top would start coming with a run. And then the people on the bottom would go, oh, we need to go again. So then they would go again, and then they would get out front, and then they would start to save fuel again and back up and jam up the bottom. So even then, maybe it wasn't the true, but however it happened, ultimately, here's what I think. I think it was a typical Talladega race. I do. Like, this was Talladega. Now you could say, okay, yes, could they have raced more in the pack? Could they have, certainly the old super speedway package, you could drop back, right? And you could work your way up through the field, which is what everybody would like to see. The ability to make moves and slice and dice and all that stuff. But ultimately, when you take the broad picture of Talladega racing, it's a lot of riding in some form. Today was 2x2 riding. We've seen single file riding a lot. And then a lot of times they crash at the end, multiple times. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was Talladega. Like, I wasn't like, oh, this sucked. It was just a normal Talladega to me. Totally normal.
You recall that?
Perfectly acceptable.
Perfectly acceptable. That's what it is. I feel the same. I'm so glad you said this. I really don't want to have this argument with you.
Oh, okay.
Phew. Thank God. I am so happy. I was sitting there the whole race, like, oh, yeah, we're going to have to argue about this. Because I felt like the same thing. It was just like, it didn't have the craziness. They didn't have the 3 wide racing throughout. And you can argue whether it's a good thing or not. But I was okay with this. It wasn't horrible. And you still could come back and make moves. And you could come up through the pack. And
I mean, not really. But
I mean, I saw some guys do it. And so I was fine. I was fine with it. And the third lane, it would have been great if the third lane would have come in. And at one time, I thought it really was because Bubba Wallace moved up and caught it, and they pushed him all the way to the lead.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, here it is. And then he ditched them.
And then that lane went
gone. And like, he kicked him to the curb hard. And there was another at the end of the race. There was like a 3 or 4 lap stretch of 3 wide there. And then, yeah, it was. It was fine. But I've seen so many Talladega races like this before. Like this wasn't, people have this imagination. There was an era of NASCAR recently where you could run 3 wide and make these crazy moves and guys coming from the back and everything. But that is kind of like the anomaly. There's a lot of Talladega that was what you saw today, which is you've got to get track position and you've got to you're running 2 wide. You really can't run 3 wide. And that's not much different.
Yeah, and I mean, the dilemma always is: does this race need to be 500 miles? Then, if we're only going to see the racing for the last 30 laps. I mean, maybe you do sort of a heat race format. Now, I'm trying to be cautious because I really am. Dale Jr. again this week on his podcast, is talking about we need to stop like just constantly. He wasn't saying us, but everybody.
Oh, no, he was talking about us. He was talking about you. But that's
okay.
Cool.
Everybody,
it was definitely not me.
Everybody, just the flavor of the week changing. What needs to be changed this time? What needs to be changed this time? Okay. Anyway, so I could see where you could say, well, it doesn't need to be 500 miles. People mostly sat there and waited for something to happen. So in that sense, could you say, all right, we're going to do heat race format, like, to set the field if track position is that important? But I don't really think. I think here's the thing too. The drivers were talking about they had a meeting with NASCAR on Saturday, right?
They do that every weekend.
And no, I think once every 3 weeks or something.
I thought it was every maybe.
I don't know. Anyway, whatever. However, they meet with them. The drivers came away with the impression of they said that NASCAR told them. Goodyear apparently was in the meeting, and Goodyear said, "Hey, like we've got some options. We were being conservative. The first year of the next gen car, and now we have some options for different compounds that could lead to more tire wear. What we were talking about last week, everybody was talking about with Martinsville and things like that. So, that drivers are very encouraged about that. And then they were also encouraged by NASCAR saying, hey, we're thinking of some things with rules packages that might work on short tracks and the regular speedways. So they were encouraged about that. And I think it was Corey LaJoie who said, you kind of get the impression that super speedway racing right now is not their priority. It's not their top priority. Like that will come. They'll try to fix this package at some point. That is down the list. And
understandable.
I can understand why, because they have bigger things to worry about right now. Like they've got bigger problems. And again, if this racing was all single file and it was a train the entire day,
that's the key.
Then everybody would go, okay, like this is terrible. But I think the fact that it was 2x2, like if you're a casual fan and you don't really know why they're 2x2, and then they end up going 3 wide at the end, it's fine. It looks fine. You don't need to worry. Like
there wasn't anything grotesque about this race where you're like, oh my goodness, they need to change this. Again, this was like remember in 2015, the spring race year.
No, I never remember any of the races.
But anyway, there have been moments these races where they have ran single file and there's like no passing, or it's really, really hard to pass. You're not even running 2 wide. You're running single file. If that would have been that, you're like, oh yeah, I think that would have compelled NASCAR to make this a higher priority. But because the racing isn't horrible, it's passable, and there is enough, with the draft and everything else, and guys can run 2x2 at least, and there is some semblance of passing and excitement and all those things. Like, you're making a list of all of the things you need to fix. Hell yeah, super speedway racing is going to fall at the bottom. Short tracks is probably number 1. Maybe intermediate tracks is number 2. I mean, it's short tracks, intermediates, road courses, in some order. And super speedway is going to be bottom because this is fine. I mean, it's maybe you want it better, maybe you want something else, maybe you want the 3 wide craziness, big moves thing, but you can worry about that later. This isn't a glaring issue right now.
Yeah, again, I mean, would we like it to be how the previous package was? Sure, I would, but again, none of the cars got airborne today.
That's the big thing for me too, is like when we talk about that package, like we have to address, like there was a time too that package created huge monster runs where these blocks were happening and guys were these massive wrecks. Cars were getting airborne.
The Ryan Newman wreck.
Newman wreck. I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, I like speedway racing. I like it. I really, for a lot of reasons, I like it. But even me at a time, there was like a problem where cars were getting airborne all of the time. It was like, this is too much. And now that largely has been solved, and I know what happened in the Xfinity race, but that's that. This you don't see that with this, and that's
not as often.
Not as often. And so I think that's an encouraging thing. And then you have to be very careful about how you tweak things here, because you can go the other direction in a hurry with some very dire consequences.
Well, and look, I mean, the Larson Priest crash was really scary. Super hard hit. The in-car of Priest's head. That was really like, wow. But then, ultimately, like, I hope he's not going to have a concussion this week or something, but he walks away, right? Larson, boy, I mean, that the side of his door did not look good at all. Like, and he said there was he's lucky he didn't have something fly in and hit him. I mean, he said his cockpit was a mess, things like that. But thankfully, ultimately, he's okay. Yeah. The one thing you don't want to happen is like a Blaine Perkins situation, which as of now, I don't think he's been released from the hospital. So, you don't want these big, heavy cars tumbling. It's not like a sprint car or a midget where, you see flips all the time and they're light enough. Okay. The chat right now, people are saying that per Bob, Blaine has been released. NASCAR just announced it. So see, this is perfect. Thanks, live chat. Yeah, it's on Twitter. You guys see, I can't look at Twitter right now in the live chat on this YouTube thing that we're doing. The people listening to this and not watching us have no idea what we're talking about. But by the way, so speaking of the live chat, one of the other comments I almost can't look at the live chat during this because one person said, I feel like Jordan Bianchi's cologne is something that costs like $300 or something. I don't think you're wearing cologne.
No, I'm definitely wearing cologne today.
Oh, well, I don't smell anything. How much does your cologne cost? $300?
I do not have $300 cologne.
Okay.
It's not cheap. Let's just put it that way.
It's not cheap, though.
It's not cheap.
Okay. Just like the jacket. Dude, you guys, Jordan's wearing these like really nice leather shoes today to match his boots. Oh, boots? Yeah. Those are boots?
Those are boots. Yeah. Leather boots.
Okay.
They're ankle boots.
They only go up to your ankles.
Yeah, they're ankle boots.
Okay. Anyway, he's wearing this like fancy jacket, fancy boots. And who were we talking to today? LaJoy?
I don't.
We were standing around talking to somebody. I accidentally, for a moment.
Oh, yeah.
Stepped on your
boot
for a second. Like, I didn't mean to, but anyway. Somebody says he stepped on your shoes at Daytona. And so anyway, it happens.
I do not handle people stepping on my shoes
well. You immediately like recoiled. Like
I recoiled and I immediately look down and check and make sure there are no scrapes, scuffs.
He brings fancy clothes to a racetrack where people lean on tires and have all sorts of, but like, oh my gosh, you don't want to scuff up your shoes.
I've never
we're running down pit road after a race.
I ran in these boots today to the care center and then back to pit road. And
anyway,
I also bring a shoe polish kit with me.
So one thing we can't argue about that I don't think we see eye to eye on.
Oh, good. Here it goes.
Is the Ross Chastain, Noah Gragson going for the lead moment.
Yeah.
So you think, what's your case?
It's a racing accident. Like,
well, whose fault was it?
I don't think there's anybody at fault. I think it's a circumstantial accident where it was overtime, right?
No, they didn't do that in overtime. That was earlier.
Was
the Chastain Gregson one? That was earlier.
That was on a restart.
Yeah, but I think that was way back, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't. It was pretty late.
That wasn't overtime.
Hang on.
Am I crazy, guys? When did that happen? This is another great thing for the chat.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have if the chat could weigh in as well. Oh, you guys are saying. Oh, you are saying first overtime. Oh no, somebody's saying 10 to go.
It was late.
So somebody's saying it was the thing that induced the overtime.
Okay, so it was like it was really late.
I was wrong.
Shocking. Anyway, so because of the circumstances, because it's a few laps to go, and because track position meant so much, it's going to be you needed to be aggressive in that situation. And you've also got a driver, Noah Gragson, who is very rookie, inexperienced, not been in that position. And so if you're Chastain, you're looking at this going, no one wanted to be around him. Like they want to get by him. And there was a little bit of contact. His car went up. And from what I saw, it looked like I'm surmising here. I'm kind of putting myself in Chastain's position. I could see where he's thinking like that 42 car sliding up the track and as it continues to slide, that hole opens up. You're going to go. It looked like the 5 was going to go with him and push him. And then it looked like the 42 came down a little bit. And so, yeah, was Chastain aggressive there? Absolutely. Could he maybe waited? Maybe. But if you back off in that situation, you're on a restart. You're losing your momentum. You're falling, So I don't want to say it's Chastain's fault or it's Gregson's fault. It was a racing situation on a restart where you've got to go for it in a race where track position was everything. I get where people are going to say, oh, it's Chastain's fault. But again, the 42, there was contact. The 42 kind of goes up, and you're thinking, well, he's going to keep going up. There's going to be a hole there. I'm going to fill it quick, and I'm going to take that spot. By the way, if he would have done that, if he would have been able to do it, he would have been side by side with the leader. Like, I just think it's a racing accident to me. It's not a this fault, his fault. It's just this is how it is.
So obviously, there was that top. They were on the top line, right?
Yep.
You had more Ford power on the bottom line with what was it? Blaney, Almirola, Harvick on the bottom, and then you had Gregson, Chastain, Larson on the top. So the top cars are pushing. They're kind of getting squirrely. I mean, Chastain is pushing as hard as he can. He's getting Gregson a little bit squirrely. So Gregson, for a moment, from what I feel like, kind of goes up the track because he's getting such a hard push.
Sure.
And then Chastain immediately decides to go 3 wide through a gap that I don't think was going to be there. I don't think it was there. And it wasn't like the Keselowski restart at Texas years ago where there was a gap with Gordon.
Oh, it was a small hole. I think he think the hole was going to be bigger though because the 42 was going to keep sliding up, and it was that gap was going to widen.
I don't feel like Gregson came down to try to block or something. I think Ross was just trying to stick it in there, but I think it was just too. That was in the early moments of the restart. I think it was too early at that point. So I'm not saying don't go for it, but I think that was more on Ross than Noah, which is where we seem to disagree. Seems like a lot of people in the chat it almost seems like 50-50. People feel like Noah was coming down. Noah was trying to block. I don't think he was trying to block at that point.
So it's a racing accident. That's what it is.
Yeah, but Ross forced the issue by trying to go 3 wide at that point. I've been a Ross defender. I'm just saying.
You just like to blame Ross.
No, I've been a Ross defender. I just think at that moment, the person, I guess I feel like there's not enough patience to make these moves late in these races, and it really comes down to patience. Again, like Kyle Busch today, let the other people kind of take themselves out. He ends up winning. I think back to the Denny Hamlin Daytona 500 where he sees a run coming, he lets everybody go by, and he feels like, okay, there's enough time. This was the early moments of the restart.
Daytona 500, by the way.
Yes, this is the early moments of a restart. That's overtime. So there's 2 laps to go. At this point when this incident happens, there's still say 1.75 laps to go or something, right? Whatever move you make at that point is not going to win the race. It's not going to be the winning move.
But in a race where it's hard to pass and track positions, everything, it's different. 2020, when Hamlin made that move in the backstretch of Daytona, and he got passed and repassed him going through turns 3 and 4, he knew that package allowed him to do that, and you were going to have an opportunity to do that. With this package and what we saw today, you weren't necessarily going to be able to recoup and get those spots back necessarily. So you have to change your mindset a little bit.
Yeah, I suppose so.
It's a racing accident.
Yeah, I think that the Bubba Blaney thing is along the same lines. So I don't view either of them as sort of like racing accidents. I think there was somebody that caused. It wasn't just 2 people at the same time coincidentally going for the same spot. The Bubba thing, for instance, right? Blaney's coming with a run, and Bubba tries to block it, and then Blaney kind of drifts up, tries to block it again, and at that point, Blaney, as Blaney said, and I think Bubba even agreed with you talking to the care center, but Blaney was not at fault at all. He's trying to.
There's nothing you can do on that. I mean, he's just.
He said, Blaney said after it, I could either get on the brakes. Well, you're not going to do that at that point.
He was going to get spun if he does that.
Well, yeah, and you're not going to win there. So
Yeah.
In the Blaney situation, I mean, you're expressing, was that a racing incident? No,
No,
it was
I mean,
Bubba's fault.
Yeah, Bubba owned it, and I think you when you throw 3 blocks, and I counted them, like you're, and the last one was like up the track, like that's on you, and
Yeah.
he owned it. Like to his credit, he owned it. Like he didn't beat around
Okay,
the
well, I'm
bush.
glad you didn't say it was a racing
No, like
incident.
Bubba owned it. I mean, you have to, like, you can't. That's pretty clear cut. You know, you get 1 block, probably maybe 2 sometimes, but 3, you can't do it, and it's tough. And you know, again, credit to Bubba for saying, "Hey, that's on me."
I do want to express thanks for, again, like the people that are watching this live stream, which is pretty amazing. We even have like Danny B Talks in the house and the Iceberg in the house, 2 of the most prominent NASCAR YouTubers. So thank you guys for joining us along with everybody else. We have over 300 people watching this live. So
That's cool.
Thanks to all of you guys. So listen, you know, is this the racing that we're going to see going forward? Like, is this, you know, Daytona cutoff race, the other Atlanta super speedway race, the fall Talladega race, like every time it come, is this how the racing is for the foreseeable future? 2x2 most of the race, then at the end they race. Do they go for it?
Maybe. I mean, who knows, right? Like circumstances. We're gonna have a rain shower in turn 1 at Daytona.
Well, no.
I mean that's. I mean, I'm kind of kidding, but I'm serious. But my point is, you don't know the circumstances, and like at Daytona, I mean, we had this giant wreck, and then at the end of the race, we had like 6 cars on the racetrack.
Yeah.
So you don't know. Like it just, you know, and the thing is you make a tweak here or there. Like hypothetically, right? You look at the Larson crash, and NASCAR is probably going to investigate that and determine whether or not they can make any safety changes. And they're pretty proactive on that, right? They're very proactive on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, let's say they make a change. Like we've seen it before. Like you make one change, it's like a little domino effect, and the cars all of a sudden are differently. So, if there's no changes, yeah, and the racing is largely the same. There's not a big crash that wipes a bunch of guys out. Like this is probably what you're going to see, but you don't know.
So I ask that because does that change how we look at sort of who can win these races, right? Like, does it make them any less of a wild card race than before? Like, for today, for instance, right? The first 2 stages, you didn't have a big one. In fact, until very late, most of the cars were still running.
Mm-hmm.
So you weren't like looking at, okay, well, this guy had half the field wreck and then he's going to be able to take advantage of the win and make the playoffs. I mean, you had Ricky Stenhouse Jr. win, the Daytona 500, but since then, Kyle Busch wins this. Kyle Busch already has a win. Like he's already one of the favorites. So that crosses one off of the wild card, who could get into the playoffs thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but do we have to start looking at these races differently at all? Like in terms of maybe, the Corey LaJoys of the world are not going to be able to take advantage of them as much. I don't know.
No, I mean, I still think there's going to be opportunities. I mean, like Michael McDowell, unfortunately for him, just had a tire issue today and was never a factor. Like you're going to see guys in the mix. Eric Almirola today was in the mix. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was in the mix. You're still going to have those guys. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. won the Daytona 500. Like,
yeah,
I still think that these are wild card races that opens up the playbook a little bit. Corey LaJoy at the end of this race today, or towards the end of the race, was making a run where it looked like he was going to kind of put himself in the mix of I don't think he was going to win, but top 10, like I still think it's going to be there. And so you're still going to have an opportunity. And I still think the guys who come here with the proper mindset and have an understanding of how this works are still going to be rewarded more often than not. You look at the end of this race, the 2 guys that probably should have won this race, either Bubba Wallace or Ryan Blaney, are very, very good in super speedways. And it just, it didn't break their way. So
what does Blaney have to do? What does Blaney have to do to win a race?
Combination of things. 1, luck. I mean, you just, you got bad luck. 2, I asked him that question at Daytona because the rap on him is he tends to start races really strong, leads a bunch of laps, wins some stages. Like he won a lot of stages last year. People don't realize that. And then as the race goes on, they fade. And I said, so why is that? He's like, I got to do a better job of kind of anticipating what's going to happen with the track and my car and trying to basically get ahead of a little bit. That's part of it. You could, he Is there communications? Is the communication with he and Jonathan Hassler to the level you need it to be? Is that relationship performing to the level you want it to be at? Since Jonathan took over that team, they have not won a points race. So there's questions there. And let's not ignore the fact that so Ryan didn't win a race last year, right? That bad luck, right? Largely, like he could have won Daytona 500, he could have won Phoenix. Like there's a lot of races, woulda, shoulda, coulda. He played a really good teammate a lot of times and good soldier. But he had a great year. Statistically, outside of wins, he and Joey Logano were very, very equal across the board. Going back, now we're going to this year. Penske hasn't. We've talked about this. Penske's cars haven't been the best. Like, I know Joey, at least in the last month or so, they started off pretty decent. They've gone the other direction. They haven't had a lot of speed. So you got to get speed in your race cars first and foremost, and then you got to execute better. I mean, it's just one of those things. I feel like really you just kind of got to ride it out and just get your cars better. And if you kind of come out of this, and no one doesn't think that Ryan Blaney isn't a good driver, but I mean, he has to be better. He has to be better at the end of races. The team has to be better at the end of races, and you have to stop shooting yourself in the foot a little bit too. And then again, get fast race cars.
Well, I think the last part's key, right? Because in the situation that Blaney's in now, and really all the Fords, I mean, the Fords have to be perfect. The Fords, there's been 10 races this year. Ford has won 1 race. Toyota's won 2, and Chevy's won 7.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're a Ford driver, I mean, you look at, say, like Ryan Preece last week, right? He's great at Martinsville, leading the first part, wins the pole, makes a mistake, done. So, if for the Fords are perfect and they have everything go their way, they can win a race. But right now it doesn't feel like the Chevys, have enough sort of leeway where maybe
especially the Hendrick cars, the Hendrick cars, where they have enough speed in their race car. Speed overcomes everything. That is the greatest thing you can have in your arsenal when you make mistakes, and they don't have it. Priest said this last week to me. He goes, for whatever reason, the Fords, when they get back in traffic, just can't. They struggle more with dirty air, and that there you go. And the Hendrick cars have been able to do that largely, where they've had penalties or other issues, and they've been able to drive through the field. And it's speed is everything.
Yeah, we're getting a lot more comments about your outfit. Somebody said that you look like you were somebody that would buy jewelry in the movie Uncut Gems. What was one of the other ones here? Somebody said that you look like, what was it? Oh, who is this strip club owner that Jeff is interviewing?
Oh, wow, that's disrespectful.
Well, this is because of the leather.
Because I wear leather. People wear leather jackets all the time. Like, why is that a big deal? Like,
okay,
I'm
We're not
sorry.
used to it here. We're not used to it.
Classing
he didn't like that
bit.
one. He didn't like that one.
No, it's fine.
Anyway,
you start dressing like a dad.
I mean, folks. I mean, this is drip right here. Look at this. Wow, it's amazing.
Good God.
We didn't. I mean, look. I saw a lot of you in the comments asking for Biggie Bob to come on with his Biggie Wendy's bag. We don't have that kind of drip.
I could go get him. I told Chasm.
I don't think he still has the Biggie costume.
Probably not. I told Chasm to come in here.
Well, he doesn't even know where we are. Nobody knows where we are. Anyway, so I don't know. Do you want to talk more about this race? Do you want to talk about the Xfinity race? What do you want to do here?
I mean, what else is there to talk about this race? Like, it's there's not much to. I feel like we've covered it all, right?
Well, the Xfinity race was certainly a departure from. The first stage of the Xfinity race was good.
It was really good.
But I don't know, man. Like the wrecking. Oh, I never looked because I guess there was a bunch of. I guess I can't look because we're doing the live stream, but I'm pretty sure. I don't know how it turned out, but late in this race, like around the time overtime started, this Cup race was on pace to be shorter than the Xfinity race, despite being 200 miles longer. Like, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
There was a lot of torn up crap yesterday, and even the cars that had avoided all the melee and the mess still get caught up in it on the last lap coming to the line, like Josh Williams, people like that. I'm sure they were like, oh, we avoided all this craziness, and then like coming to the finish line, boom.
Garrett Smithley.
Yeah, like, geez.
It's a typical, I don't know, this is Xfinity series on a super speed. We saw it in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't, I don't know what else to say. This is what it is. Like, I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
we saw the same at Atlanta. They crashed coming through the checkered flag. Like, and there was a big pileup with Parker Kligerman, and he had a hard hit. Like, this is the Xfinity Series, and this goes back though. They have a much different package where the first stage where they were running 3 wide, they were making big moves. You saw guys coming, up and back and everything. That's what I'm talking about. Like when you give that's an up and coming series, right? The development series. You give drivers who are still figuring this out that kind of package, like that lends itself to race the accidents that you saw.
Well, I mean, it did produce a good storyline in Jeb Burton winning because Jordan Anderson last fall here. I mean, everybody that I'm sure you guys saw the great interview that they did with Jordan Anderson before the pre-race show, and you should find it online if not. Just documenting sort of his injuries and he was airlifted out of here last time he was here, right? And pretty severe burns and to come back here as the winning team owner.
He's one of the sport's good guys too.
For sure.
Really good guys.
And picks up a win for Jordan Anderson Racing in the Xfinity Series. That's, this track gives and takes, and it's pretty great. Even Chastain the other day was talking, or yesterday, I guess, was saying, man, I know I won this race last year, but I feel like I took something from this track, and this track's going to get me back. So anyway, like it's just this place is it may not really be on a actual burial ground that the old myth was, as I know you did some reporting on that, but it still gives off that vibe of weird, mysterious.
There's a lot of weird occurrences that have happened here over the year.
How about, speaking of weird, we didn't talk about this, the Chase Briscoe thing. So he spins, he's carrying too much speed coming to pit road. He spins, and then he is like doing donut, like his car bottoms out. He's stuck on pit road. He's doing donuts. He said afterwards that he could see, as he's doing the donuts, he could see the pit crew that was in that box taking out their cell phones and videoing him as he's trying to get his car going again. And he was like so embarrassed, right? Like humiliated. He goes 2 laps down. Fortunately for him, he didn't go 3 laps down. He's trying to get his one lap back. And then Logano does that crazy move, which I was like, what is he doing? Where he just stays in the middle.
So smart.
I mean, that could have been really bad.
Sure.
He forces the field to split him. If, by the way, which would have been a completely reckless, everybody would have just destroyed him and slammed him. Physically, if they'd been in a wreck, but literally, also, like if he had been, if that had been a bonehead move, like
kept the steady wheel, kept right in the middle, didn't move, and
then he slid in, and he got the free pass instead of Briscoe.
It was such a risk.
Yeah,
man, it
worked.
Smart.
Yeah, but so Briscoe ends up getting his laps back, and then at the end, he ends up finishing 4th.
Yeah,
he ends up getting all the way up there. He said his hand hurt so much, the pins in his fingers from the surgery that he had, that he was screaming inside the car in pain. He had a double splint on, one on top, one on bottom, and he was saying the one on top, for whatever reason, was hurting his hand so much. Gosh, that sounds so painful. I was like,
I get a paper cut. I get a paper cut, and I'm like out of commission for a week.
Yeah,
I can't imagine having to deal with that and grip a steering wheel and try to focus. And no.
Well, he said maybe one reason that he felt it more. He was just speculating that, at Talladega you have more time to ride around, think about it. But because the finger pre-surgery hadn't bothered him at all, really. But he expressed some concern about Dover next week. I mean, that's gonna be tough if your finger is that excruciating.
Yeah, and you've got to pull the wheel a lot. It's left hand. You have to pull the wheel a lot, so it's
ouch. Well, hopefully he can kind of like have a week where it's not touched by anything, and it it has another week of healing, right?
Keep it immobilized.
Yeah,
a shot of whiskey or something. Pain pills.
He doesn't drink.
Doesn't drink?
No, Chase Briscoe never drank, and so his wife was so disappointed because Marissa, his wife, she was so looking forward to getting one of the videos of when you come out of surgery, like when you see people get their wisdom teeth out, and he was going to be all loopy. And he said that the doctors didn't let her come back until he was almost fully recovered. So she gets back there, and he's like doing pretty good. I think he was slurring his words a little bit, but he wasn't loopy. So she was so bummed that she missed, because she'd never seen him in a sort of inebriated state, and she missed out on the drug-induced painkiller state. So The whole world has missed out on this great Chase Briscoe content of whatever that would have been. We'll never know unless he gets another surgery, but we don't want that for you, Chase.
That's gotta be painful. Ooh.
Yeah.
You're right about Dover. I mean, that's gonna be hard. That's the thing. I mean, Chase Elliott too. Like, I mean, that's a heavy braking track. I know he got through Martinsville no problem, so he should be fine at Dover. But it's something to kind of keep in the back of your head. Like, that's going to be a physically demanding race.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the Dover race, and I know we're sort of jumping around a little bit, but it was interesting to hear some of the drivers say that is going to be sort of a bellwether, like measuring stick of how good you actually are. Like, that is the race that they think is going to be like, we'll see how good Hendrick really is. We'll see how good Trackhouse really is. We'll see how good Gibbs or whoever. Mm-hmm. Like, if you show strength at Dover, they feel like that is going to be a sign of your season. I don't know.
Interesting.
I think William Byron was the one that particularly said that. Like, this is going to be, and then Kyle Busch said it too in his post-race press conference. Like, we really need to look at Dover. So that will give us something to look for to watch at Dover. Which, by the way, I think Dover race was pretty good last year, if I recall.
I think so. Yeah, I think it was pretty.
Was that? Correct me if I'm wrong. Again, terrible memory. Did that race not get moved to Monday?
Yes, it was a Monday race.
But then, so nobody really got to watch it, but it was pretty decent. Like, people weren't sure how the next gen was going to do there, but it was pretty good.
It was a good race. Chase Elliott won. It was his first win on an oval since 2020. And Denny Hamlin had some issues. Denny Hamlin was really fast, and then he came from the back or so. They had an issue in pit road. They lost a tire. That's right, because Gabehart got suspended because Hamlin won with a suspended backup crew chief at Charlotte. So he had an issue in pit road, then came back, and then I think he got caught up in like a back marker spinning or something like that and ended his day, I think.
Yeah, I'm nodding like I know that.
Now I'm going to look. But yeah, I know. Yeah, I remember it being a pretty good
I don't remember
race.
any of these things.
But the thing with Dover, though, is we have such a low bar.
Oh, well, I mean, there's been good Dover races in the past, like I think 2016 maybe.
Yeah. Well,
but I mean, then they had a really bad run.
Yeah, more often than not, it's bad.
Big Joe Wall's in here, and he said that he sent us the poll results, but I didn't see them. So,
I did.
Oh, what are they?
I won again.
So you're up 7-1?
Correct.
Okay. Well, great. You get to go first because I have no idea what this Talladega race is going to do. And I can't look up the past ones right now because we're doing the YouTube live stream. No, I'm good. You have to pick, and I'll.
You know what?
Congratulations on your win.
You actually.
Yeah, that's right. Because
you did it to yourself.
Yeah,
you did it to yourself. You and your stupid Price is Right crap. You screwed yourself. And because if you wouldn't have done that and you'd have played it normal and been fair about it, you would have won probably last week, and I would have lost. But you want to do your things, and then
no, that wasn't last week. I won, so I went first, and you, instead of doing the Price is Right, you went way below me.
All right, maybe
I think, right? Yeah, I don't
remember. Anyway, I remember races. I don't.
We've got we've got people helping us in the chat.
Oh yes,
so we've
70, 62, 64, 42.
Russell Solberg says 42%, but everybody else 70. Has been higher. Like
you know what? That's a great number
64,
right there.
67, I was gonna 70, 75, 70, 70.
Yeah.
69%.
You know what? I'm gonna roll with the people. Looks like there's a lot of 70s over there. Let's go 70%.
I don't know. I don't think people are gonna say. Well, I don't know. Are people gonna say it was that
69, 679, 69, 70, 70.
I was gonna
69. Nice. Yep, 69. Nice.
Okay, I'll go 66. 66. I feel like it's gonna be mid 60s.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Mid 60s.
68.
Yeah. Now.
Okay.
Russell Solberg again.
Everybody who's saying 70 and 69 in this thing.
Yeah.
Please vote. Tell your friends to vote too for me.
To vote for you, you would just want them to vote for whatever your outcome is. How would they know what the percent is going to be before they vote? They don't know.
If you vote, everybody votes yes. I'm going to win.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's not complicated, Jeff.
So, now I want to address this if you guys don't mind the side note, because it is going to be a private poll behind for just my Twitter followers, my current Twitter followers, because I have taken my account private, and I got a lot of questions about that. So the one good thing is there's no chance of the poll being manipulated because there's no chance that anybody can buy votes. The poll will be behind the paywall, or not paywall. Used to paywall for articles behind the locked whatever Twitter thing, right? Protected tweets. So that would be a positive.
I want to talk about that too, because
that's what I was going to say. So people are wondering why. I have had people ask me on Twitter and in person tweet up today, why did you protect your tweets? Okay, so we lost our blue check marks, right? And I've always wondered what would happen to the Twitter experience if you just took your tweets off public, right? If you protected them, which you could not do when you were verified. If you did that when you're verified, you automatically lose your verification. I was like, well, I don't want to do that, so I'll keep my check mark. But once they took it away, I was like, well, let me try this. I got to tell you, it has been the most glorious 4 days or whatever of doing this. It has been so nice because it reminds me of the Twitter experience I had when I first got on Twitter, 2009, 2010, really 2000, all the way up through 2013 or something. The amount of vitriol and just nasty replies and over the top stuff. I think the majority of the comments come from people who don't follow you. And then your stuff will get retweeted in their timeline and they'll just tee off on you. They don't even know who you are. They don't care.
As somebody who wrote about the Chicago street course race this week on The Athletic, my timeline is a dumpster fire this week.
And I would bet that a lot of those mentions, some of them are, but a lot of them are from people that don't follow you in the first place, but they saw your tweet retweeted, or they found your tweet, they searched for Chicago or whatever, and they want to go crazy. It's the same thing when you tweet about Bubba or anything else, right? Well, so it's been nice because I feel like it's been very civil, and it's more of the people who are on this chat, it's the debate kind of stuff. And it's not as much of the name calling. I mean, you're still getting some of that, but now I can just boot them out of following me. I could just say block, unblock, and they are not following me anymore. They can't see my tweets. No, they don't have to be upset with me. I don't have to be upset with them. We just don't look at each other anymore. So it's been very nice. Now the problem is, of course, when we write a story, like when I do my top 5 column, when we tweet out this podcast link, my tweets are only going out to the 200,000 people, and they're not going out to the wider audience. So I'm potentially limiting my.
You're hurting me.
What's that? I'm hurting you. Yeah. So that could be bad. Maybe at some point, my bosses are like, hey, your numbers are down or something, and you need to change it. But if that happens, I'll just go back. It's fine. But because I got to keep my job and everything. But anyway, it's been very nice mental health wise, just to not have to wade through rivers of sewage that's being spewed my way for just every tweet.
You could just not look at the comments.
I need to look at the comments though, because I feel like it's just the same with these people, right? You want to see what they're saying. You want to see what they're saying about our podcast.
Okay. I agree with that. Or here we go. Ignore the bad ones. If you see it,
Why do I have to look at them all day though? I have to look at them all day. Here's another. Oh, this guy's saying, "Shut the f up, you whiny."
Or don't let it impact you.
Well, it's fine. I don't normally, but it's nice to not see them at all.
Let the comments impact you.
Well, what I'm saying is, it's nice to not see them. It's nice. I mean, yeah, some of them definitely impact me. I'm only human. So anyway, that's why I did it. I don't know if I'll do it forever. And I'm also approving people who are requesting. So if you're listening to this and you weren't already following me, just put in the request. I'm not keeping people out. I just don't want and also I'm sure you've seen it on your tweets. Have you guys seen Rosie, the porn spam person who goes on, or the version of her who goes on every NASCAR person's tweet now and says whatever with blurred out content, and then you have to block them and report them? Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, I haven't heard from Rosie at all. Rosie's gone. A nice feature. Yes, because she can't see my tweets, so she can't reply to my tweets. So anyway,
maybe you should become friends.
The guy that said you were a strip club person said, "Don't talk about Jordan's employee like that." Wow. For Rosie.
I was gonna say, maybe you could become friends with Rosie and get her back on the moral compass that
There's 100 Rosies. I went through my block list because I was unblocking everybody when I was starting the thing. There's 100 Rosies that I've blocked. Poor Rosie.
Hey, Rosie.
She's not real, Jordan. You can't talk to her. It's like you talking to ChatGPT or something. Anyway. Don't
ruin this for me.
She's not real. You don't need to copy and paste with her. She's not real. She's not a real person.
Works.
Anyway.
Works.
God, Gosh, what else? I feel like we're all over the place now. This chat thing has been fun that we're doing on YouTube, the live version of this, but it's so distracting because people are having such funny comments. And anyway, we've enjoyed all you listeners. And gosh, yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else to talk about with this? Did we forget anything? Can you guys put in the links if we forgot anything to talk about? We don't have our notes.
Austin Dillon penalty this week.
Yeah, Austin Dillon got a penalty.
As expected, too. Kyle Larson's car is going back to the R&D center for evaluation. So,
well, if you looked at the comments, they told us that like 5 minutes ago, but
I'm
see, you don't read the comments.
No, so. I don't read the comments. I'm being a professional and not getting distracted. And I'm a squirrel.
I'm not bald. People are saying I'm bald. I just shaved my head. Yes, I am bald. Yeah. Anyway, Todd Gilliland. We didn't talk about Todd Gilliland. Another top 10 in not even his own car. No. Like a scraped together team.
Thrown together crew chief. Well, I mean, crew chief from the truck series. The only crew member he had with him is his spotter, if I have it right. Like, he's doing like wonders this year. Like, it's amazing. Like, he is doing a really, really great job of a situation that is unfortunate, and he's just making the most of it. And good for him. And he's, who knows how free agency and silly season is going to go, and what rides are going to be open and what. But like, he is somebody. If you're a team owner, like, you have to take notice of this. Of what he's doing over there in his second year, running well, not getting swept up and stuff. He had Martinsville. He finished like 28th. He had a good run going there too. Like,
yeah, and then he had a cylinder go down.
Yeah, and so not his fault, but he's putting together good runs every single week. Like, he's somebody that you would think is probably not going to command like high dollar contracts. So if you're a team and you're trying to make a right move, like a money ball approach, like, he's somebody you got to keep an eye on.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess we'll leave it there. Neither of us are going to be in Dover, so it'll be a double. You can bring back your talking head, floating head.
I had to change my backdrop though.
Yeah,
I did a national TV thing.
Excuse me, national TV.
When you dress like this, you get a national TV job.
What national TV? You didn't even tell me about.
Talk to my agent. So I changed the backdrop so there'd be no more floating head.
Well, are you going to tell us when you're on national TV?
It already aired. It really wasn't anything major. So,
well, thanks for telling us. All these people. Would you guys not have wanted to see Jordan on national TV? Were you wearing a biggie bag? Is that why you didn't tell us?
I was wearing a suit.
Oh, a suit. Okay.
Biggie bag.
All right.
I was wearing my power tie and my pink dress shirt.
Okay. Well, congrats. Anyway, I know.
But no floating head.
I'll leave it with this. In the comments, somebody says, does Rosie like Jordan's cologne?
Probably. If she's smart, she would.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. And we'll talk to you next time on the Teardown. See you, everybody. All right. We're not done with the YouTube portion yet, Jordan. I'm not letting you off the hook. Okay. You can put this down. We're not recording on this anymore. I need the microphone. They want us to do a quick Q&A. Our YouTube friends.
Let's do it.
So let's just we got like 5 minutes here.
I'm in no rush.
You guys fire some. You have to read the comments in order.
I will go. I'm gonna go. Well, you moderate.
Fire up some. What do you mean moderate? The comments are going to start coming up. Why no one at Dover? Because I had to pick. Well, I was thinking about going to Dover, and then we decided to double cover Talladega instead. So.
We tend to double.
Somebody want to know why my head's so shiny. I don't have any.
You don't have any hair.
Makeup. I don't have any hair. Yeah. Sorry, everybody's being sad about that. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about JJ Yaley 11th. That was good.
Good run.
Prospects for the 4. See this guy. He laughs. He knows. So he doesn't. He laughs like he knows at least. So I guess he doesn't want to say yet.
Working on that story. Let's just say.
Working on it. Okay.
Working on that story. I'm working on it.
Is Race for the Championship having a season 2? You were on that show.
Don't know for sure. My understanding is I think they would like to. I think the format's going to be different. Last year was all 36 races. I think if this comes back this year, I think it's going to probably be focused on just the playoffs. So don't know. TBD. We'll see.
When is Busch to Trackhouse announced? No, I think he's pretty happy at RCR.
Yeah, Kyle's got a multi-year contract. It's that.
The first race I ever attended in person was the last Rockingham race of 2004. the final race ever at Rockingham. Except maybe, I shouldn't say final race ever because North Wilkesboro came back. So
okay,
what?
It's a sort. Go ahead. You finish your thing, and then I'm going to jump in here because I got to.
So Rockingham,
yeah,
like people all have this soft spot for North Wilkesboro. Oh, North Wilkesboro, I'm so happy. I never went to a race in North Wilkesboro, and I wasn't even watching NASCAR at the time, so it really doesn't mean that much to me. I'm sure it'll be cool when I go, but Rockingham, if Rockingham came back, I'd probably get like teary. I'd walk in and be like all emotional.
They are spending money.
Yeah.
On their infrastructure. They put down new asphalt. Like I will just say, I wanted to do a story on Rockingham and kind of basically what you said, like Nashville's coming back, maybe, who knows, but North Wilkesboro's back. Like, is there a path back for Rockingham? Had an interview set up to do the story back in January, was really excited by it. And the interview fell through at the last minute, not on my end. And we have never been able to reconnect for whatever reason. So we'll see. But your point, like I have learned, Jeff, never say never because you just don't know.
Yeah, unless they like tore down the track.
Exactly.
Like raised it. Like
exactly.
I don't think we're ever going to see the like Fontana 2 Mile Oval, for instance, ever again. Obviously. No. Let's see. Did Carl really turn down NASCAR for the top 75? I haven't heard that.
So. They haven't announced a lot of the names. I mean,
yeah, he'll be on there. Carl will definitely be on there.
I don't think it matters. You turn it down anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You're just gonna put you on the list. Like what?
Yeah, you don't have to do anything for it, right? So Jeff Burton why did Jeff Burton get added while he was Harrison was on the radio?
Wanted a moment.
Yeah, but did they show it on TV?
They mentioned it on TV, yeah.
But they didn't show it.
I don't think they showed it now.
So, but why would not have it like an unveil? Like
you might see a social media video. There might be something else. I can't say. I mean, maybe I don't.
I will say
it's probably going to be out there somewhere.
We were up in the new press box today, which used to be the old scoring tower, and NASCAR has since moved. So this is the first time I've ever seen the whole track, and Richard Childress had his own booth right next to ours, and then there was another booth right next to his, where Letarte, Burton, and Rick Allen were all watching the race together. And I don't know if they were practicing for.
They were just here to. Yeah, they were here. This
and
weekend.
I will tell you something very impressive about Steve Letarte. Steve Letarte came over to the press box to borrow my phone charger because his phone died. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Oh, can I borrow your cord?" I'm like, "Of course, right?" So when he returned it, he didn't just be like, "Oh, here's your charger back." He had wrapped it perfectly, like perfect spiral ball, like almost like it came out of the package. He's like, "Here's your phone charger." I was like, "Wow, if you're gonna borrow something, that's how you should do it. You should return it in beautiful condition." I was like, "Thank you, Steve Letarte. That was amazing." Yeah. Somebody wants to know about your phone. They say you don't even have a Google Pixel phone.
I don't even know what that is.
Do you have an S10e? He says.
I don't know. I just haven't.
You don't even know what your phone is? No, Android. You're Android proud.
Got like a Samsung, top of the line Samsung thing. I don't know.
See, they want to know what Android you use.
I don't know. It's an Android.
How does he not know this?
I don't care. It's a phone. It works. All I need is to get my apps on there and everything else. Like
John Cora says your jacket is fire. So.
Thank you. Trust me, I get a lot of compliments on this. So trust me, my phone's been blowing up. So
yeah. All right. Well, I guess we better start stop procrastinating and go do actual writing and stuff.
Yeah. What are you gonna write for your top 5?
Something about Kyle Busch.
Okay. Okay. I think so.
No, in all honesty, these race weekends at the track where we get to talk to the drivers, it's just so much more. I feel like I have so much more to work with because we get to the media bullpens and, you get to ask questions that are, that you can use instead of being from afar, working off TV or something like that. So hopefully it'll be a good top 5 tomorrow. Not that I can tweet it out to mass people aside from my Twitter followers, but thank you for following if you already do. Jordan got to see Michael Jordan.
I did. I followed him. I was walking out on pit road. So when they start the national pre-race prayer and everything like that, I don't like to be on pit road. I like that's my cue to head back to the media center.
You don't like to stand there? Like everybody's lining up, and a lot of people try to get in the TV shot like this. They're like this, and then when the TV shows them, they're like,
"No, I don't. I don't want to be on TV."
Yeah, you don't want to be on TV. That's the first time I ever heard that.
Not in that context. So I was walking back to the media center, and these 2 black I think they're Suburbans, with 2 big black SUVs show up. And we knew MJ was here. I don't know if you knew this or not, but I knew MJ was here. And I'm like, that has to be MJ. Like, it has to be MJ. Like, there's nowhere else. Like, I had already talked to all the big wigs and everything, like the president, NASCAR's president. Like, they pull up right up to the pit road, like right there, right by the pit stall, right where the pit stall is. I'm like, oh, that's MJ. So I get out, I make a beeline over there, run over there, and I followed MJ.
What were you trying to do? Talk to him?
I just wanted to check. You know me. I just like to
be like, hey, what's up? Yeah, MJ, it's me, Jordan Bianchi. I break all the news.
We can become fast friends.
Oh, you and MJ. Okay.
We have something in common.
This guy's living in fantasy world.
We have something in common.
What's that?
We're both named Jordan.
Oh, I thought it was that you both like have leather boots.
Yeah, probably that too. Yeah. But like, so I saw him get out of his car, the SUV, and I was like, so I followed him down pit road to the pit stall, and he said it was really interesting because like you think it's like MJ, he kind of got this aura, like no, he said hi to like all the crew members. He's sitting there like just chatting them up and like BSing and everything, and like someone's like, oh, Bubba's mom is here, so he went over and said hi to Bubba's mom, and it was very nonchalant. Like everyone just treated him like he was just one of the guys. Like there was no aura or anything about. Now he had security with him, yeah. But I mean, in terms of like the team and everything, they were just like non-pulsed. Like it was just like MJ's here, cool, whatever.
All right. Well, as William Cooper says here, MJ on the Teardown wins. So after you make friends with the other Jordan, yeah, just have him be a guest.
You have that's my number one interview I want to do.
I know.
Like
I'll fight you for it.
Okay. I want my ultimate, one of the big stories I want to do, probably the biggest stories. I want to watch a race with MJ.
Yeah. This guy, man. What a fantasy world this guy.
No, you shoot for the moon. Like you don't settle. Like you always aim high.
Anyway, on that note, I'll let this guy go back to his dream world. Thank you guys for hopping on here, 300 strong. It was fun to talk to you guys. Fun to see all the comments. You guys were trying to crack me up during the podcast, and I kept having to like bite my lip to not laugh. But very funny stuff, fun interactions. So anyway, talk to you guys later. Thanks. See you.
Thanks. See you.
Bye.